Cary Grant, the definition of Hollywood elegance, had a personal hygiene habit that would make anyone gag. His secret? He allegedly shared his toothbrush with his dog. Yes, that Cary Grant. So how about knowing more about him aside from this rumor? The transformation of Archibald Leach. Before the world knew Cary Grant as Hollywood's most charming leading man, he was just Archibald Leach, a working-class boy from Bristol, England, whose life was anything but glamorous. His early years were filled with instability. One day his mother was there. The next, she was gone. His father told him she had died, but that was a lie. His father quickly remarried and left him behind, essentially abandoning him. From that moment on, he was on his own, forced to adapt, to survive, and, most importantly, to reinvent himself. By 14, he found his escape in the theater. He wasn't drawn to acting yet, but he was captivated by performance. He joined the Bob Pender acrobat troupe, where he trained in stilt walking, pantomime, and slapstick comedy. Physical control became his greatest asset. He learned how to move with precision, how to hold himself with confidence, and how to make people believe in whatever character he portrayed. At 16, he toured America with the troupe. That trip changed everything. He saw a world far beyond Bristol, and he had no intention of going back. When the tour ended, he stayed in the U.S., leaving Archibald Leach behind in more ways than one. Over the next few years, he refined himself. His rough Bristol accent softened, his posture became impeccable, and his mannerisms became effortless. He watched and studied the elite, picking up their speech patterns, their body language, their charm. He was shaping himself into someone new. By the early 1930s, Hollywood took notice. His good looks, athleticism, and natural charisma made him an easy choice for the silver screen. But there was one problem. Archibald Leach wasn't a movie star name. And so, with the stroke of a pen, he became Cary Grant. The Toothbrush Incident. Even in Hollywood, where eccentricities were the norm, Cary Grant's personal hygiene routine raised eyebrows. He had a reputation for being meticulously clean. But one habit in particular left his co-stars questioning everything they thought they knew about him. On set, Grant's trailer was always immaculate. Everything had its place. Clothes neatly arranged, grooming products perfectly aligned, and a level of organization that made even the most disciplined actors seem messy. But amidst the order was one unexpected guest, his dog, a small terrier that had full access to his personal space. No one thought twice about it, until they saw what the dog had access to. Rumors swirled that Grant allowed his pet to use his toothbrush. At first, some assumed it was a joke, a playful exaggeration meant to amuse the crew, but witnesses insisted otherwise. His dog, they claimed, had free rein over his grooming kit, and Grant didn't seem bothered in the slightest. If anything, he defended it. "Dogs' mouths are cleaner than humans," he reportedly remarked when confronted about the unusual habit. His co-stars weren't convinced. This wasn't just an isolated incident. Grant's quirks extended far beyond toothbrush sharing. He was known to iron his money, insisting that crisp bills reflected personal discipline. He took ice-cold showers every morning, swearing they kept him in peak physical condition. He even had a habit of wearing his suits at home, fully dressed as if he were always about to step onto a movie set. His fixation on hygiene and precision was legendary. He was the type to rotate multiple toothbrushes at a time, ensuring they remained in top condition. Yet, despite his obsessive attention to detail, one of them was apparently reserved for both him and his canine companion. Why did he do it? Some believed he was just eccentric. Others thought he simply enjoyed shocking people. After all, Cary Grant spent his entire career controlling his image, choosing every public appearance, interview, and role with precision. Maybe this was just another way of keeping people on their toes. Whatever the reason, the toothbrush incident stuck with him. It became one of the many strange, yet undeniably fascinating stories that made him one of Hollywood's most enigmatic stars. The Private Perfectionist. Cary Grant understood one thing better than most. Control was everything. He didn't let the studios dictate his career, nor did he let Hollywood's chaotic nature seep into his personal life. Every aspect of his existence was carefully curated, from the way he carried himself to the way he managed his relationships. Unlike most actors of his time, he refused to be locked into a restrictive studio contract. In the 1930s and 40s, the major studios owned their stars. Actors were expected to churn out multiple films a year, follow strict personal conduct clauses, and let executives make all their career decisions. Not Grant. He walked a different path, one that gave him the power to say no. He selected roles with precision, worked only when he wanted to, and secured contracts that ensured he made more money and retained creative freedom. Hollywood needed him more than he needed Hollywood, and he knew it. That same obsessive control carried into his personal life. Grant's style wasn't just for the screen. His wardrobe was a masterclass in sophistication. Every suit was custom-tailored, pressed to perfection, and fitted exactly to his frame. He was never seen looking disheveled or out of place. Even when he wasn't working, he maintained a level of polish that few could match. His discipline extended to his health. While other leading men indulged in the excesses of Hollywood, booze, parties, late-night escapades, Grant maintained a strict diet and exercise regimen. He ate simple meals, often preferring fruit, lean proteins, and vegetables over elaborate dishes. He was known to take ice-cold showers daily, a practice he believed kept him sharp and energized. Even well into his 50s and 60s, he kept himself in peak condition, refusing to let time diminish the image he had carefully built. The struggles he hid well. Beneath the surface, Cary Grant carried deep wounds, and no amount of Hollywood magic could erase them. His most haunting scar, his mother's sudden disappearance when he was just 11 years old. Young Archie, before he became Cary, was sent off to boarding school, left to wonder why he had been abandoned. The truth, as he would find out decades later, was much worse. By the time he reached his 30s, he was one of Hollywood's biggest stars. He had wealth, fame, and the adoration of millions. But nothing could prepare him for the news he was about to receive. His mother, Elsie, wasn't dead. She had been institutionalized in a psychiatric hospital the entire time. His father had lied. The revelation was earth-shattering. For over 20 years, he had mourned a mother who was very much alive. He immediately arranged for her release. But too much time had passed. They were strangers. He tried to care for her, providing financial support and regular visits, but the damage had been done. That sense of abandonment never left him. It shaped his entire life, especially his relationships. On screen, he was the perfect romantic lead. Sophisticated, devoted, endlessly charming. Off-screen, love was complicated. He married 5 times, yet none of his marriages lasted. He was affectionate, but emotionally closed off, generous, but controlling. Women fell for the idea of Cary Grant, but the real man struggled with intimacy. Alcohol became his escape. He was never a reckless drinker, but those closest to him saw the cracks. Some nights, he was the life of the party. Others, he was withdrawn and unpredictable. Even his friendships reflected his contradictions. Some called him warm and generous. Others found him distant and self-absorbed. The Hollywood bromance rumors. In the rigid world of the 1930s and 40s Hollywood, where masculinity was carefully curated, Cary Grant and Randolph Scott did something unexpected. They lived together. Not for a few months, not as a temporary arrangement, but for well over a decade. Their home was a luxurious, sun-drenched mansion in Los Angeles, a place that quickly became infamous in the industry. The two actors were inseparable. When they weren't working, they were vacationing together, sailing, golfing, or throwing dinner parties for Hollywood's elite. Magazines published photos of them lounging shirtless by the pool, playfully wrestling in their backyard, or cooking in the kitchen. To outsiders, it looked like domestic bliss. Naturally, speculation started. Gossip columns hinted at something more than friendship. The idea of 2 leading men sharing a home for that long, especially when both had the wealth to live separately, raised eyebrows. At a time when even the whisper of homosexuality could end a career, their arrangement was seen as unusual. Neither Grant nor Scott ever directly addressed the rumors. Publicly, their lives followed the expected script. Both dated famous actresses, and Grant eventually married 5 times. Some of these relationships, however, felt more like publicity arrangements than passionate love affairs. The mystery only deepened over time. Some close friends insisted they were just the best of friends, bound by shared experiences and Hollywood's pressures. Others whispered that their relationship was more than platonic. The truth? It remains locked in history. Later in life, Grant distanced himself from the topic entirely. He refused to discuss his time living with Scott, treating it as a chapter best left in the past. Scott, for his part, married a woman and largely disappeared from the public eye. Whatever their relationship was, it remains one of Hollywood's longest-standing enigmas. And in the carefully controlled world of Cary Grant, where every move was deliberate, this was one part of his life that would never be fully explained: walking away from stardom. Most actors chase fame until their careers fade. They take roles they shouldn't, attempt comebacks no one asked for, and let their legacy unravel before the audience's eyes. Cary Grant did the opposite. At 62, at the top of his game, he stepped away from Hollywood and never looked back. By the early 1960s, Grant was still one of the most bankable stars in the world. Studios begged him to reconsider, offering him roles that could have defined the later years of his career. Alfred Hitchcock wanted him for Torn Curtain. He was reportedly the first choice for My Fair Lady and even Superman's Jor-El years later. The money was staggering, millions up front, plus box office percentages. But none of it interested him. He had done it all. There was nothing left to prove. Unlike his peers who clung to their youth with questionable facelifts and roles that didn't suit them anymore, Grant saw the writing on the wall. He refused to be one of those actors who overstayed their welcome. His timing was perfect. His last film, Walk, Don't Run, 1966, wasn't a blockbuster, but it was a fitting farewell, playing a refined older gentleman who hands the romantic lead role to a younger man. The subtext was clear. Hollywood was moving on, and so was he. Instead of chasing the spotlight, he focused on something completely new: fatherhood. In 1966, just months after leaving Hollywood, his daughter Jennifer Grant was born. She was his first and only child, and everything changed. He rejected the long hours of film sets in favor of raising her himself. His days of being the leading man were over, but he had a new role: dad. While other aging stars took on embarrassing roles to stay relevant, Grant carefully managed his public image. He made rare appearances, often tied to business ventures like his board position at Fabergé. Fans only saw him in well-tailored suits, maintaining his signature elegance. The man who had built his career on being eternally young and charming never let the world watch him grow old on screen. His retirement only added to his mystique. By disappearing at the height of his fame, he ensured that his audience would always remember him exactly as he wanted. Forever, Cary Grant. LSD and self-discovery. Few people associate Cary Grant with psychedelics, but in the 1950s and 60s, he was one of Hollywood's most famous and vocal LSD users. While the drug was still legal, he underwent over 100 supervised therapy sessions with Dr. Mortimer Hartman, a Beverly Hills psychiatrist known for pioneering LSD-assisted psychotherapy. Unlike the recreational drug use of the counterculture movement that followed, Grant wasn't taking LSD to party. He used it as a tool for deep psychological exploration. He was seeking answers. His mother's disappearance, his lifelong struggles with identity, and his failed marriages. He believed the drug could help him process it all, and according to him, it did. Grant spoke openly about his experience, which was rare for a Hollywood star of his stature. In interviews, he credited LSD with changing his entire outlook on life. "I was alone in this big black void," he said, describing one of his sessions. "But then suddenly, I saw the light. It was like being born again." He claimed the therapy helped him strip away the carefully constructed image he had spent decades perfecting. Underneath the tailored suits and the debonair charm, he realized he had been living as someone he wasn't. Hollywood was stunned. The idea of one of its most refined leading men tripping on acid didn't fit the image studios had spent years crafting. But Grant didn't care. He kept talking. He encouraged friends to try LSD, believing it could free them from the emotional baggage they carried. While he wasn't alone, other celebrities, including Aldous Huxley and Cary's close friend Esther Williams, were experimenting with psychedelics. Few spoke about it as candidly. Even decades later, His endorsement of LSD remains one of the most unexpected chapters in his life. Star who outsmarted the studios. Unlike most of his peers who were at the mercy of major studios, Grant figured out how to beat the system. He turned himself into a brand and made sure that every dollar his films earned had to go through him first. By the 1940s, he had done something almost unheard of for an actor of his stature. He refused to sign long-term contracts. At a time when MGM, Warner Brothers, and Paramount controlled their actors' careers, Grant walked away. Instead of taking a fixed salary like Clark Gable or Humphrey Bogart, he negotiated per-film deals, which gave him the power to choose his projects and work only when he wanted to. His biggest play? Profit participation. Instead of settling for an upfront paycheck, Grant took a cut of the box office. Studios hated it, but they needed him. His name on a poster meant ticket sales, and he knew it. In the 1950s, while major stars were earning $100,000 per film, Grant was banking $700,000 per movie plus a percentage of the profits. For North by Northwest, 1959, he locked in a $450,000 paycheck before the cameras even rolled, plus residual earnings. He didn't even have to attend rehearsals. The film went on to make millions, meaning Grant's payday never really ended. But he wasn't just about Hollywood money. He was thinking bigger. Instead of spending his fortune on mansions and parties, he invested. His biggest business move came when he became a shareholder in Fabergé, the luxury cosmetics company. The deal paid off. By the time he retired, Grant's net worth was estimated at $60 million. Adjusted for today's economy, that's over $500 million. Grant wasn't just the most stylish man in Hollywood, he was also one of the smartest. He turned down bad deals, controlled his own career, and made sure the studios worked for him, not the other way around. In a business that chews actors up and spits them out, Grant played the long game, and he won. The feud that never ended. For someone as smooth as Cary Grant, he had his fair share of enemies. His biggest and most public feud? That would be with Marlon Brando. Brando was the poster child for Hollywood's rebellious new era. He mumbled through roles, dismissed the glamour of classic leading men, and relied on raw, emotional performances. Everything Grant wasn't. Brando's method acting style, full of long pauses, unpredictable movements, and barely audible dialogue, was a stark contrast to Grant's controlled, charismatic delivery. Their acting styles weren't just different. They were from entirely separate worlds. Brando didn't hold back his disdain. He openly mocked Grant, calling him a fraud who wasn't a real actor. He claimed Grant's polished on-screen presence wasn't talent, but an illusion, just a man playing himself over and over. In interviews, Brando even took aim at Grant's iconic accent, suggesting it was exaggerated for effect. To Brando, Grant was everything wrong with the Hollywood machine: manufactured, predictable, and unwilling to take risks. Grant never responded publicly, but he didn't bother hiding his feelings behind the scenes. He saw Brando's mumbling, disheveled approach as lazy. When a reporter asked Grant about Brando's rising success during the North by Northwest press tour, he smirked and dismissed it with a sharp, effortless jab. "I don't watch amateurs." This wasn't just a personal spat. It represented a major shift in Hollywood. Brando symbolized the rise of the new wave. Actors who valued realism, grit, and emotional depth over traditional star power. Grant, the last of the Golden Age gentlemen, belonged to a fading era where style, poise, and charm mattered more than method acting. The feud reflected more than just two clashing egos. It was old Hollywood versus new Hollywood, and neither side was backing down. Even after Grant retired, Brando couldn't resist one final dig. When asked about Grant's decision to leave Hollywood, he reportedly quipped, "Finally, Hollywood won't have to pretend Cary Grant can act." Grant, never one to let an insult slide, later laughed about Brando's entire acting philosophy and told a friend, "I'd rather be accused of acting than mumbling." The two never reconciled, and their disdain for each other became one of Hollywood's most fascinating rivalries. One represented timeless elegance, the other restless rebellion, and neither had an ounce of respect for the other. The final act. Cary Grant built his life around control. From his meticulously curated public persona to his perfectly tailored suits, every aspect of his existence was deliberate. That didn't change as he got older. While many of his contemporaries fought against aging with botched facelifts and ill-advised comeback roles, Grant did the opposite. He let go. He had nothing left to prove. He retired at the top of his game and never looked back. By the 1970s, Grant was a rarity in Hollywood, an actor who aged gracefully and on his own terms. He turned down countless offers to return to the screen, including roles in Heaven Can Wait and Superman. He had no interest in reliving past glories. Instead, he focused on business ventures and, more importantly, fatherhood. His daughter, Jennifer, born in 1966, became his greatest joy. After decades of fleeting romances and 5 failed marriages, fatherhood was the one role he took on with full commitment. Even in his 80s, he maintained his famously disciplined lifestyle. He kept himself impeccably dressed, favoring custom suits even for casual outings. His diet was clean and precise, light meals, minimal alcohol, and no indulgences. He still exercised daily, believing that discipline kept him sharp. Though he made occasional public appearances, he avoided Hollywood events, preferring the quiet life. On November 29, 1986, Grant was in Davenport, Iowa, preparing for a live-on-stage conversation. It was supposed to be another carefully controlled appearance, but fate had other plans. Hours before the event, he started feeling unwell. When his colleagues suggested calling a doctor, he waved them off, insisting he was fine. He wasn't. The stroke hit fast and hard. He collapsed in his hotel room later that evening and never recovered. There was no drawn-out decline, no public unraveling. Just as he had orchestrated every move in his career, he left life the same way, quietly, without spectacle. He had spent decades crafting an image of effortless perfection, and in the end, the enigma remained. He was the man who made Hollywood fall in love, the star who played by his own rules, and the legend who remained untouchable. Ever wonder how a glamorous movie star could clear a room faster than a fire alarm? Let's talk about the leading ladies whose scents weren't quite Oscar-worthy. Take Loretta Young, known as one of Hollywood's most elegant stars. She was the picture of grace on screen, always polished and poised. Off-screen, however, she faced the same struggles as her peers when it came to hygiene. The early days of filmmaking weren't exactly known for comfort or cleanliness, and even the most glamorous stars had to make do. Sets were hot, dusty, and poorly ventilated. Combine that with hours in heavy costumes under intense lights, and you've got a recipe for sweat. Deodorant wasn't a staple yet, and showering every day wasn't always practical. Like many actresses of her time, Young turned to powders and perfumes to keep fresh. It wasn't ideal, but it got the job done. Young was known for her meticulous habits. Some said she went to great lengths to maintain her image, even when conditions made it nearly impossible. Despite the challenges, she never let the less-than-glamorous realities show. On screen, she dazzled, and fans never guessed what went on behind the scenes. Colleagues sometimes whispered about how strict she was with her routines. She reportedly carried her own stash of scented products and was careful about how she presented herself at all times. But those whispers never got in the way of her success. If anything, they added to her mystique as one of Hollywood's most disciplined stars. Her dedication paid off. Loretta Young became a symbol of old Hollywood refinement, setting a standard for grace and professionalism. While others struggled to balance the demands of the industry, she seemed to handle it effortlessly, even if the reality was far from easy. Loretta Young didn't just survive Hollywood's grueling standards, she thrived. She showed that staying polished under pressure wasn't just about appearances. It was a skill, but Loretta wasn't the only star navigating Hollywood's hidden realities. Jean Harlow, for example, rose to fame in the 1930s with her signature platinum blonde hair and undeniable magnetism. Her image was meticulously crafted to embody the ultimate glamour of the era. But even Harlow couldn't escape Hollywood's unspoken truths. Stories circulated that Harlow had a strong natural scent, surprising for someone so closely tied to perfection on screen. Fellow actors and crew reportedly noticed it, and some found it hard to ignore. Her scent became a talking point behind the scenes, with whispers that she didn't prioritize personal hygiene as much as her public image might suggest. Harlow didn't seem too concerned about the gossip. Known for her rebellious spirit, She wasn't one to follow every societal expectation. She embraced her individuality, even if it meant going against Hollywood's ideals. While she did use perfumes and powders to mask any odors, it didn't completely erase the chatter. Still, Harlow carried on with her signature confidence, embodying the bad girl persona that fans adored. It's worth remembering the era she lived in. In the 1930s, modern antiperspirants and hygiene products weren't widespread. Many stars relied on perfumes and oils to cover up natural smells, and body odor wasn't considered a deal-breaker unless it was particularly noticeable. Some even argued that a natural scent added to a star's mystique. In Harlow's case, however, her scent drew more attention than most. Despite the rumors, Harlow's career soared. Her striking beauty and undeniable talent kept her in the spotlight, proving that even Hollywood's gossip mill couldn't slow her down. She became a symbol of glamour and allure, embodying the contradictions of her time, flawless on screen yet human behind the scenes. The whispers about her scent may have followed her, but they never defined her. Harlow remained an icon, showing that even the biggest stars weren't immune to imperfections, or to the relentless curiosity of Hollywood. This fascination with the private lives of celebrities extended to another legend of the silver screen, Marlene Dietrich. Known for her sharp fashion sense, commanding presence, and unparalleled elegance, Dietrich seemed untouchable. Yet behind the scenes, she faced the same realities as her peers, including the challenge of staying fresh under the intense demands of Hollywood's spotlight. A Hollywood legend of elegance and allure, she had a reputation for perfection. With her sharp fashion sense and mesmerizing charm, she seemed untouchable. But even Dietrich had to deal with everyday challenges, like body odor. Unlike many of her peers, she tackled it with precision. Dietrich kept her hygiene routine mostly private. She was secretive about her beauty habits, but those close to her knew she didn't leave anything to chance. While other stars might simply cover up odors with perfume, Dietrich had a more thoughtful approach. She was meticulous about her scent, always carrying her favorite fragrances and reapplying them throughout the day. Her goal? To ensure she always smelled as polished as she looked. Her attention to detail didn't stop there. Dietrich actively avoided situations that could lead to unpleasant smells. On set, she steered clear of anything too sweaty or physically demanding. She was known for carefully preserving her composed demeanor, even during grueling shoots. While she couldn't completely avoid natural body odor, she made sure it was never an issue for those around her. This level of effort wasn't just about vanity, it was part of her brand. Dietrich's image was built on sophistication and control, and her scent was another way to reinforce that. She understood that managing her appearance, down to the smallest detail, was key to maintaining her status as a style icon, even with her careful planning. Dietrich wasn't immune to criticism, but her ability to handle such challenges with grace set her apart. She took control of her personal scent in a way that felt intentional and empowering rather than insecure. Dietrich's approach to body odor showed her commitment to her craft and her image. She didn't just look glamorous. She made sure every aspect of her presence lived up to that standard. Her efforts paid off, solidifying her as one of Hollywood's most polished and iconic stars. Dietrich didn't leave anything to chance, and it showed. If Dietrich represented precision and poise, Mae West embodied boldness and rule-breaking. Known for her razor-sharp wit and unflinching confidence, West built a career on challenging societal norms and reveling in her individuality. But while her larger-than-life persona dazzled audiences, whispers behind the scenes painted a different picture. West's approach to personal hygiene was, like much about her, unconventional. Hollywood insiders often whispered about her less-than-conventional habits, creating a surprising contrast to her polished on-screen image. Rumor had it that West wasn't too concerned about the cleanliness routines her peers followed. While many actresses spent hours perfecting their looks, West focused more on her personality and charm. Stories circulated that she rarely showered and didn't prioritize the beauty regimens expected in Hollywood. Her natural scent became a topic of gossip among crew members, with some claiming she often smelled like she hadn't bathed in a while. These whispers added another layer of intrigue to her already larger-than-life persona. West's nonchalant attitude toward hygiene reflected her broader defiance of societal norms. She didn't care about conforming to the expectations placed on women in the industry. For her, being Mae West was enough. The Hollywood machine, usually quick to censor anything that might damage a star's image, chose to overlook the rumors. Her undeniable star power and boundary-pushing roles were far more important than a little body odor. Despite the gossip, West never let it faze her. If anything, the whispers only added to her mystique. She wasn't about to let something as trivial as hygiene define her. Instead, she leaned into her reputation as someone who broke the mold. Her refusal to conform to beauty standards made her even more compelling. The rumors about her hygiene may have been a footnote in her story, but they didn't stop her from shining. If anything, they reinforced her status as a woman who lived life on her terms, unapologetically and unbothered by judgment. Mae West didn't just play by her own rules. She rewrote the game entirely. Elizabeth Taylor, on the other hand, represented a different kind of Hollywood legend. With her mesmerizing violet eyes, radiant beauty, and unforgettable performances, she epitomized the glamour of the silver screen. Taylor's carefully curated image, much like her dazzling collection of jewelry, was crafted to perfection. Yet even she wasn't immune to behind-the-scenes whispers, this time about her natural scent. Theodore, a famed costume designer who worked closely with Taylor, famously shared his experience. He claimed Taylor had a strong, natural odor that often clashed with her perfumes. To compensate, she would reapply fragrance multiple times a day. Despite her best efforts, her scent was something crew members quietly noticed. It wasn't necessarily unpleasant, just unexpected for someone as polished as Taylor. On set, her scent became a low-key topic of gossip. Many assumed a star of her caliber would carry a delicate, glamorous aroma to match her image. The reality didn't quite align, but as with most stars of the era, Hollywood's focus stayed on her public persona. Her private quirks, including her scent, were kept under wraps. After all, Taylor's beauty and talent were what truly mattered. Taylor herself didn't seem fazed by these whispers. She was a consummate professional, and her on-screen magnetism always took center stage. Whatever was said behind her back didn't stop her from shining. The Hollywood system, ever protective of its stars, kept these details out of the public eye. Taylor remained untouchable. Even with these behind-the-scenes stories, Taylor's star power was unshakable. Fans adored her for her beauty, talent, and charisma. Her scent, whether a little strong or perfectly perfumed, did nothing to dim her brilliance. She continued to dominate the silver screen and the headlines, solidifying her legacy as one of the greatest stars of all time. As long as the public adored you, a few backstage quirks didn't matter. For Taylor, her natural scent was just another footnote in the story of a woman who captivated the world. Flaws and all, her fascination with fragrance extended beyond personal use, culminating in the launch of her own iconic perfumes. Among these, Violet Eyes, named in homage to her legendary eye color, became a standout. Speaking of legendary stars, Marilyn Monroe remains a symbol of beauty, glamour, and sex appeal, but even the brightest icons have their quirks. Behind her flawless public image and dazzling screen presence, whispers about her body odor became a lesser-known part of her story. Monroe, known for her ethereal beauty and captivating charm, had her own set of personal habits that contrasted sharply with the perfection she projected to the world. Long days on set under harsh studio lights often left her sweating, and she didn't always address the issue. Crew members and co-stars noticed, and some quietly commented on her natural scent. It wasn't a constant issue, but it happened enough to become a topic of discussion. Despite this, Monroe made efforts to manage her image. She famously adored Chanel No. 5, claiming she wore nothing else to bed. The perfume became part of her signature allure, masking any potential odors. However, her heavy application of fragrance sometimes created a different issue. Tony Curtis, who starred with Monroe in Some Like It Hot, once remarked that she had a noticeable scent, which he described as overpowering. Whether this was from too much perfume or her natural body odor, it became a talking point among those who knew her. Monroe's hygiene habits reflected her complex relationship with herself. She was self-conscious about her appearance and struggled to meet the impossible standards of Hollywood. Yet, she had an innate charm that made people forgive her flaws. Her imperfections didn't detract from her talent or her ability to captivate audiences. In a world obsessed with perfection, Monroe's scent became a quiet reminder of her humanity. She wasn't the unattainable goddess people imagined. She was real, with struggles and insecurities like anyone else. Her beauty, vulnerability, and charisma left an indelible mark on Hollywood. Her scent, whether Chanel No. 5 or something less glamorous, was just a small part of her story. While Monroe's allure thrived on her authenticity, Grace Kelly embodied an entirely different standard: immaculate elegance. From her Hollywood stardom to her reign as Princess of Monaco, Kelly's flawless image became her defining characteristic. What many didn't know was how much effort she put into maintaining that perfection, especially when it came to personal hygiene. Kelly's attention to detail was unmatched. Her beauty wasn't just about makeup and designer clothes. It extended to her daily routines. She was reportedly meticulous about staying fresh, making frequent showers a priority. While other actresses might have let hygiene slip during grueling filming schedules, Kelly refused to let long days compromise her standards. Her skin was often described as radiant, and she took pride in maintaining it. Fragrance was another key part of her routine. Kelly carefully chose high-quality perfumes to complement her polished image. Her scent was said to be subtle yet unforgettable, aligning perfectly with her poised demeanor. Those who worked closely with her often remarked on her clean, refined presence. Kelly didn't just look glamorous. She embodied it in every way. Her approach to hygiene wasn't about vanity. For Kelly, it was a reflection of her respect for her public role. As a future princess, she knew the world was always watching. Any misstep, no matter how small, could become a headline. She understood the power of perception and worked hard to ensure her appearance lived up to the high expectations placed on her. Kelly's dedication to her image set her apart. In an industry where even the smallest flaw could be magnified, she managed to stay pristine. Her natural scent never became a point of gossip because she made sure it never would. This commitment to perfection didn't go unnoticed. Fans admired her not just for her beauty and talent, but for the grace and discipline she brought to every aspect of her life. Grace Kelly's hygiene routine might seem like a minor detail, but it played a crucial role in creating the aura that surrounded her. Every decision she made reflected the poise and sophistication that made her an icon. In contrast to Kelly's polished perfection, Ava Gardner exuded a different kind of allure, one rooted in sensuality and unapologetic authenticity. Gardner was the ultimate blend of beauty and rebellion, captivating audiences not just with her stunning looks, but with her fiery personality. Unlike many of her contemporaries who masked themselves in layers of perfume to conform to Hollywood's ideals, Ava embraced her natural scent as an extension of her raw, unfiltered self. Gardner's scent became a talking point among those who worked closely with her. Friends and co-stars often described her fragrance as musky, bold, and distinct. It wasn't the floral or powdery aroma typically expected from Hollywood starlets. Ava wasn't one to rely on perfume to mask her natural smell. Instead, she allowed it to add to her earthy, untamed appeal. Her natural fragrance was as striking and memorable as her screen presence, leaving an impression on everyone around her. Whispers about her body odor didn't faze her. Ava had no interest in fitting into the cookie-cutter mold of Hollywood perfection. While she maintained her appearance to a degree, her career demanded it. She refused to obsess over the beauty standards of the time. Her grooming routine was practical, not performative. She wasn't the type to spend hours perfecting every detail for the sake of appearances. That relaxed attitude set her apart, both on and off screen. For Gardner, her natural scent wasn't a flaw. It was part of what made her unique. She didn't see the need to hide who she was, even if it meant raising a few eyebrows. Her unapologetic approach to hygiene became part of her mystique, adding depth to her already captivating persona. Ava Gardner's natural fragrance, much like her personality, refused to conform. It became another layer of her undeniable allure. Gardner's boldness, beauty, and unapologetic authenticity made her unforgettable. She wasn't just a star. She was a force, unapologetically herself in every way. Joan Crawford, on the other hand, represented a different kind of force, one of discipline and control. Known for her tireless commitment to her craft and her image, Crawford demanded perfection, not just from herself, but from everyone in her orbit. Her meticulous attention to detail was legendary, whether it was her famously spotless home or her carefully cultivated public persona. While she appeared polished and glamorous on screen, behind the scenes, her personal scent became a quiet topic of conversation. Crawford was meticulous about her grooming. She took great pride in her appearance, spending hours perfecting her look. However, rumors suggested her attention to detail didn't always extend to addressing body odor. Some insiders described her natural scent as strong and at times overwhelming during long days on set. Crew members reportedly noticed it but knew better than to bring it up to the famously intense star. Crawford wasn't known for her willingness to take criticism lightly. One story from director Robert Aldrich's set hinted at the awkwardness her scent could cause. It said that Aldrich had to manage the issue delicately, as Crawford refused to acknowledge it as a problem. She was fiercely protective of her image and wasn't about to let anyone challenge her on something as personal as hygiene. Her stubbornness in this area was just another facet of her uncompromising personality. Despite the gossip, Crawford's public persona remained untouchable. She was seen as a symbol of glamour and professionalism. Any behind-the-scenes complaints about her scent were overshadowed by her immense talent and determination. For Crawford, keeping her public image intact mattered far more than addressing private whispers. While the rumors about her hygiene added an unexpected layer to her story, they did little to diminish her standing in the industry. In the end, her image was always bigger than the whispers. Veronica Lake, for instance, quickly became the face of 1940s glamour. Her peekaboo hairstyle wasn't just iconic, it was a full-blown phenomenon. Women everywhere tried to copy it, and she made sultry mystique look effortless. But beneath the glossy exterior, Lake struggled with the pressure to meet Hollywood's impossible standards, even when it came to personal hygiene. Whispers on set hinted that Lake didn't always play by the rules when it came to grooming. While many leading ladies bent over backward to fit the mold, she took a more laid-back approach. Insiders claimed she wasn't a fan of the meticulous rituals the studios pushed on their stars. Her relaxed attitude, paired with her independent streak, didn't sit well with Hollywood's tightly controlled image-making machine. Lake's refusal to conform went beyond hygiene. She was rebellious at her core, refusing to let anyone mold her into a cookie-cutter star. This resistance often caused friction, earning her a reputation as difficult. The rumors didn't stop there. Her iconic hairstyle, while groundbreaking, reportedly came with its own challenges. The hours of maintenance led to scalp issues, which insiders suggested may have influenced her less rigid grooming habits. Still, on screen, she made it all look flawless. Despite the gossip, Lake's charm and talent kept her on top. Audiences loved her, and her hairstyle alone cemented her legacy in fashion history. Fans never suspected the behind-the-scenes challenges, and Lake never seemed to care about the whispers. She had an effortless way of shrugging off the industry's judgment, proving she had bigger things to focus on. Lake wasn't just a symbol of old Hollywood glamour, she was the human side of it. She didn't pretend to be perfect, even when the world demanded it. They may look like $1 million on screen, but off-camera, these leading men are known for their less-than-appealing personal hygiene. In the 1920s and 1930s, actors like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton dazzled audiences with their slapstick routines and daring stunts. But hygiene? Not so much. Sets were basic, outdoor locations lacked running water, and showers were rare luxuries. After a long day of physical comedy, chances are the stars didn't smell as charming as they appeared. Still, audiences adored them, and hygiene, or the lack thereof, wasn't part of the discussion. By the 1940s, the studio system had taken over, and stars were carefully styled to fit a flawless image. Publicists worked hard to craft personas for leading men and starlets. However, not everyone embraced the polished expectations. Some actors leaned into a rugged, carefree image. Even into the golden age of Hollywood, whispers about the Hollywood stench circulated among crew members. Makeup artists and wardrobe teams occasionally struggled to manage stars who didn't prioritize personal care. For some, it was part of their charm, a rejection of the polished, controlled image studios wanted to project. For others, it was simply a byproduct of long hours and intense filming schedules. Marlon Brando is a name that stands tall in Hollywood history. Known for redefining acting with his groundbreaking performances, he brought a gritty realism to classics like A Streetcar Named Desire and The Godfather. But Brando wasn't just known for his craft. His hygiene, or lack of it, became an infamous part of his legend. For him, acting wasn't about pretending, it was about becoming. And if his characters didn't care about grooming, neither did he. Staying in character often meant personal hygiene took a back seat. Reports from co-stars and crew paint a vivid picture. Brando's body odor was so overpowering, people avoided lingering near him for too long. On the set of The Godfather, Brando's habits didn't go unnoticed. Crew members reportedly dreaded stepping into his trailer, where the smell was, let's say, unforgettable. Some accounts claim the stench was so intense it lingered long after he left the room. Brando, however, wasn't bothered. He openly admitted that he didn't see the point of regular showers and often wore the same clothes for days. To him, all that mattered was the art. Despite the discomfort he caused on set, Brando's talent was undeniable. His ability to inhabit a character was unmatched, and his lack of concern for appearances only added to his rebellious mystique. Brando wasn't about playing by the rules, he rewrote them. While some found his habits frustrating, others saw it as part of what made him a creative force. Brando's unpolished demeanor became part of his allure. He wasn't trying to be perfect or polished, and that authenticity resonated with audiences. His raw talent and refusal to conform made him a symbol of the anti-Hollywood establishment. His refusal to play the Hollywood game, on or off the screen, only solidified his status as a true original. And speaking of actors who exuded rugged charisma while breaking the rules, few captured the rebellious spirit of Hollywood quite like Steve McQueen. Known as the King of Cool, McQueen didn't just star in films like Bullitt and The Great Escape, he embodied them. His on-screen intensity and effortless charm drew audiences in, but his colleagues weren't always as enamored. Behind the scenes, McQueen was as famous for his untamed habits as he was for his box office success. It wasn't just his defiance of Hollywood norms that stood out, it was his unapologetic disregard for hygiene, which became an unspoken part of his tough guy mystique. McQueen was a rebel, both in life and in cleanliness. On set, he was known for skipping showers and wearing the same clothes for days. Sweaty, scruffy, and unapologetic, he carried his I do what I want energy everywhere, even if it made others keep their distance. Co-stars and crew often whispered about his strong body odor. Yet, many chalked it up to his rough-edged authenticity. During The Great Escape, McQueen's habits reportedly caused some challenges. His natural musk became a talking point among the crew, and director John Sturges wasn't thrilled about it. Some even joked that McQueen's scent should have gotten its own credit in the movie. The same was said during Bullitt, where McQueen's sweaty dedication to action scenes made him a legend, and a bit of a nose-plug necessity for those nearby. For McQueen, his carefree attitude wasn't a gimmick, it was who he was. He wasn't interested in playing the Hollywood game of perfection. He wanted to be real, and if that meant skipping a shower or two, so be it. His friends often described him as someone who lived on his own terms. If you didn't like it, that was your problem, not his. Despite the grumblings behind the scenes, McQueen's smelly reputation didn't tarnish his career. Instead, it became part of his rough-and-tumble charm. Fans loved him for his fearless authenticity, even if his co-stars didn't always love his, scent. McQueen's name as the ultimate action star remains untouched. His scruffy, sweaty image only made him more relatable, more magnetic, and yes, a little more human. Even if he wasn't the freshest-smelling guy on set, Steve McQueen was, and always will be, the king of cool. Fast forward to a new era of heartthrobs, and we find another actor who captured global attention with his mysterious charm, but for an entirely different audience. Robert Pattinson's transformation into the brooding vampire Edward Cullen in Twilight had fans swooning and filling theaters. His piercing gaze and enigmatic demeanor elevated him to instant stardom, cementing his place as the face of the franchise. During the Twilight era, Pattinson developed a reputation for being, let's say, low maintenance when it came to personal grooming. He openly admitted to rarely showering, often going days, sometimes weeks, without freshening up. "I don't like washing," he famously confessed, a comment that raised more than a few eyebrows. While his disheveled, devil-may-care attitude endeared him to some fans, it became a running joke on set. Crew members on the Twilight films didn't hold back, with several noting that Pattinson's body odor was, shall we say, memorable. His co-stars, including Kristen Stewart, made sly comments about his grooming habits in interviews. Some tried to laugh it off, framing his lack of hygiene as part of his quirky charm. Others were less charitable, suggesting that his resistance to basic cleanliness was a bit much, even for Hollywood's most rebellious leading man. Pattinson's reluctance to embrace showers wasn't limited to his personal life. He famously wore the same clothes repeatedly, often for days at a time. While many of his peers spent hours in hair and makeup, Pattinson seemed to delight in showing up as is, unapologetically unkempt. His attitude toward cleanliness was less about rebellion and more about sheer indifference. He simply didn't care, and somehow that only added to his mystique. Despite the chatter about his hygiene, Pattinson's career flourished. His raw talent and unconventional charm overshadowed any rumors about his scent. In fact, his scruffy, nonconformist vibe only made him more appealing to fans who saw him as refreshingly real compared to the hyper-polished stars surrounding him. Pattinson's rise to fame proved that Hollywood's obsession with perfection has its exceptions. Whether or not he smelled like a fresh meadow, his talent and charisma shone through. And let's be honest, in a world of picture-perfect vampires, it was nice to know that even Edward Cullen could be a little human after all. Switching from brooding vampires to endearingly awkward British charm, we come to Hugh Grant. Bursting onto the Hollywood scene in the 1990s, Grant became the quintessential leading man for romantic comedies like Four Weddings and A Funeral and Notting Hill. His boyish good looks and stammering wit made audiences fall head over heels, cementing him as one of the most beloved actors of the decade. Behind the polished, swoon-worthy on-screen persona was someone who took a much more casual approach to personal hygiene. Grant was famously laid back, and his grooming habits reflected that relaxed vibe. Reports from various sets suggest that his disheveled appearance wasn't always a costume. It was just Hugh being Hugh. Wrinkled clothes, messy hair, and a noticeable lack of freshening up were common features of his off-screen style. Crew members on films like 9 Months and Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason often joked about his au naturel approach to cleanliness. One recurring quirk? Grant would show up to set in the same clothes he wore the day before, looking suspiciously like he'd rolled straight out of bed. Showers and hairbrushes didn't seem to make it into his morning routine very often. And while some co-stars may have politely avoided commenting, crew members weren't shy about noticing his laissez-faire attitude toward grooming. Despite his sometimes questionable hygiene, Grant's charm always won people over. His imperfections made him relatable, and his self-deprecating humor disarmed even his toughest critics. In an industry obsessed with perfect looks and carefully curated images, Grant's carefree demeanor felt refreshingly authentic. However, his relaxed habits weren't without their challenges. Rumors of skipped showers and unbrushed teeth occasionally led to whispers among those who worked closely with him. But for Grant, it was just part of who he was. He wasn't interested in conforming to Hollywood's obsession with flawless appearances. In the end, Grant's laid-back hygiene habits never slowed him down. His on-screen magic kept audiences hooked, and his ability to make people laugh and swoon secured his spot as one of Hollywood's most beloved actors. Even if he didn't always smell like roses, Hugh Grant's charm was enough to carry him through. Speaking of actors who broke the mold and rewrote the rules, few names come to mind as quickly as Johnny Depp. When Depp swaggered onto the screen as Captain Jack Sparrow, he wasn't just playing a pirate, he was redefining one. With his slurred speech, off-kilter humor, and wildly unpredictable energy, Sparrow became one of the most iconic characters of the 2000s. Depp's performance turned a quirky supporting role into the centerpiece of Pirates of the Caribbean, skyrocketing his career to new heights. Behind the scenes, Depp's habits veered far from Hollywood's glossy standards. His reputation for skipping showers and rocking a lived-in look followed him everywhere. Turns out, Depp wasn't just unconventional in his acting. His grooming routines, or lack thereof, became part of the story too. From the sets of Pirates of the Caribbean to Finding Neverland, reports often mentioned Depp's disheveled appearance. Co-stars and crew knew he wasn't one to fuss over his reflection. Depp openly admitted to going weeks without a proper shower. It wasn't a statement or rebellion, just Depp being Depp. He preferred to focus on his craft rather than what shampoo to use. His unkempt look seemed to bleed into his roles, adding a raw authenticity that fans adored. Not everyone found it charming, though. Orlando Bloom, Depp's Pirates co-star, joked that Depp's scent took some getting used to. Crew members whispered about his lingering body odor, a kind of ode to Depp that stuck around long after he left. Still, most shrugged it off as part of his quirky charm. In a world obsessed with appearances, Depp's unapologetic attitude felt refreshingly real to many. For Depp, this carefree approach wasn't just about hygiene. It was part of his larger rebellion against Hollywood norms. He built a career on playing characters that didn't fit the mold, and his off-screen persona followed suit. Depp wasn't trying to be a heartthrob or a polished leading man. He wanted to be an artist, and his odd habits became as much a part of his mystique as his roles. Ironically, Depp has been the face of Dior Sauvage since 2015, fronting ad campaigns for the fragrance line that includes eau de toilette, parfum, aftershave lotion, and deodorant. Somehow, the contrast only adds to his mystique. Depp was and remains in a league of his own, unpolished, unpredictable, and undeniably captivating. And when it comes to unpredictability, few actors rival Nicolas Cage. Known for his intense performances and outlandish choices, Cage has carved out a space in Hollywood that's entirely his own. From stealing the Declaration of Independence in National Treasure to unleashing unbridled chaos in Mandy, his larger-than-life energy makes him a perfect fit for roles that demand eccentricity. But Cage's intensity isn't limited to the screen. It spills over into his personal life, including his grooming habits. Stories from film sets paint a picture of an actor who throws himself so fully into his roles that personal upkeep often takes a back seat. Whether it's skipping showers or embracing an unkempt aesthetic, Cage's offbeat approach to life has left co-stars and crew with memorable anecdotes about his, let's say, earthy presence. Cage himself has admitted that he cares more about his craft than his appearance. Grooming, he said, simply isn't a priority when he's diving into a role. His off-screen look often mirrored the chaos of his characters: rumpled clothes, unkempt hair, and a general air of dishevelment. During the filming of Ghost Rider, reports of Cage's body odor made their way around the set, with some crew members noticeably uncomfortable. For Cage, this wasn't about making a statement. It was just who he was, someone so focused on his work that everything else fell by the wayside. Even on the set of National Treasure, Cage's hygiene habits became an inside joke. He'd often show up in the same outfit he'd worn the day before, hair looking like it hadn't seen a comb in weeks. Co-stars joked about his wild appearance, but it was all in good fun. For most, this was just another layer of Cage's unpredictable charm. His messy aesthetic only added to his mystique, making him seem more like a mad genius than a polished leading man. Despite the jokes and occasional grumbles, Cage's talent always took center stage. His ability to bring raw emotion and complexity to every role outweighed any complaints about his grooming. Fans and critics were more interested in his acting than his hygiene. In fact, his unpolished demeanor became part of his brand, an extension of his unpredictable, no-holds-barred approach to both life and work. And speaking of stars who embrace their natural selves, Matthew McConaughey takes the concept to a whole new level. Rising to fame in the late 1990s and early 2000s, McConaughey became the epitome of cool with roles in films like Dazed and Confused and The Wedding Planner. His breezy confidence and southern charm made him a household name, winning over audiences with his easygoing, relatable appeal. But McConaughey's relaxed vibe didn't stop at his public persona. It spilled over into his personal life, particularly his approach to hygiene. On the sets of films like Magic Mike and The Lincoln Lawyer, whispers began circulating about McConaughey's unconventional grooming habits. He openly admitted he didn't see the point of daily showers, preferring to embrace his body's natural scent. In interviews, McConaughey was unapologetic about his approach, often laughing off questions about his hygiene. "I smell like the beach," he quipped in one interview, as if his salty, sweaty aroma was all part of the package. Not everyone shared his enthusiasm for going natural. Co-stars occasionally commented on the challenges of working in close quarters with him during long filming days. One even hinted that McConaughey's natural musk made intimate scenes a little too memorable, but McConaughey brushed off the critiques, sticking to his laid-back, go-with-the-flow philosophy. To him, it was just another way of staying true to himself. Despite the occasional grumbles from those who had to endure his earthy aroma, McConaughey's career didn't miss a beat. His charisma and undeniable talent kept audiences hooked. Whether playing a smooth-talking lawyer or a dreamy rom-com lead, he continued to charm his way into fans' hearts. His relaxed, beachy persona only added to his appeal, solidifying his image as Hollywood's ultimate free spirit. In many ways, McConaughey's disregard for traditional grooming became part of his mystique. Fans saw him as the guy who didn't sweat the small stuff, literally. His unpolished approach to life set him apart in an industry obsessed with perfection, making him one of the most relatable and adored stars of his generation. For McConaughey, staying true to himself always came first, even if it meant skipping a shower or two. And while McConaughey leaned into his laid-back charm, Gerard Butler took ruggedness to a whole new level, rising to international fame with his iconic role as King Leonidas in 300. Butler became synonymous with tough guy grit and fearless intensity. His chiseled physique and commanding presence on screen were a direct result of intense training regimens that pushed him to the limits. But all that sweat and determination didn't always lead to a post-workout shower. On the set of 300 and Olympus Has Fallen, Butler's dedication to physical training often came at a cost, mainly to those around him. After grueling workouts and hours of filming battle scenes, Butler was known for skipping showers. Crew members joked about his lingering body odor, but it became part of the raw and real vibe he brought to his roles. While some actors would freshen up after a tough day, Butler seemed unbothered. For him, staying focused on his work mattered more than smelling fresh. One story from 300 stands out. After an intense training session, Butler would head straight to set without bothering to clean up. His scent, described by some as noticeable, filled the room. Instead of being embarrassed, Butler owned it. He embraced his gritty, unpolished persona and seemed to enjoy the jokes at his expense. His attitude fit the Spartan warrior image he was portraying, rugged, raw, and unapologetically intense. Not everyone on set was thrilled, of course. Some co-stars found his habits hard to deal with, especially in close quarters. But for fans, these quirks only added to his appeal. Butler's rugged, no-nonsense image resonated with audiences, and his performances overshadowed any off-screen complaints. Interestingly, despite his rugged persona, Gerard Butler has admitted to being terrified of shaking hands. After walking the red carpet, he often makes a beeline for the nearest bathroom to wash up, worried about catching germs. Butler's rough-around-the-edges charm kept him landing major roles, solidifying his place as one of Hollywood's favorite action stars. His refusal to conform made him stand out, and for many, that raw energy was part of what made him unforgettable. Some of Hollywood's biggest legends vanished from the spotlight, only to end up buried in places no one expected. One lies on a prison island, another under a fake name. You've seen their movies, but you've never seen where they ended up. Rudolph Valentino. He died on August 23, 1926, at the age of 31. He had been hospitalized in New York for a perforated ulcer. After surgery, he fell into a coma and never recovered. The news hit fans hard. Within hours, thousands gathered outside the Frankie Campbell Funeral Chapel in Manhattan. Crowd control became a serious issue. Reports estimated 100,000 people lined the streets. Some smashed windows trying to get in. Several people fainted. A riot squad was called. Rumors of fans taking their own lives started circulating, though many were never confirmed. What was clear, Valentino's death created public hysteria. After a funeral in New York, his body was taken by train to Los Angeles. He was buried in Hollywood Forever Cemetery. At the time, he didn't have a final resting place secured. June Mathis, a friend and screenwriter who had helped launch his career, offered him space in her family crypt. She believed it would be temporary. Less than a year later, Mathis died suddenly. She was placed in the crypt next to him. They remain there to this day. Not long after his burial, visitors began noticing a woman in a black veil bringing flowers to his grave. She became known as the Lady in Black. Her identity was unknown for years. Multiple women later claimed to be her. The ritual continued annually, always on the anniversary of his death. Valentino's grave is located in the Cathedral Mausoleum. It features a small marker with his name and birth-death dates. Fans still visit, especially on August 23rd. The site has become a landmark within the cemetery. Bessie Smith. Her final day began on the road. On September 26, 1937, her car collided with another vehicle along Route 61 near Clarksdale, Mississippi. She was riding in the passenger seat. The driver reportedly swerved to miss a truck and clipped the back end of another car. Smith was taken to a segregated hospital where she later died from her injuries. She was 43. Her body was returned to Philadelphia. At the funeral home, thousands came to say goodbye. Estimates ranged from 7,000 to 10,000 people. The crowd was so large that a second viewing had to be held. Her husband, Jack G., handled the arrangements. She was buried at Mount Lawn Cemetery in Sharon Hill, Pennsylvania. No headstone was placed. For over 30 years, her grave was unmarked. Jack G. had told people he would buy one, but it never happened. Her niece later tried raising funds, but was unsuccessful. Visitors had to rely on directions from staff or longtime locals who remembered the plot's location. In 1970, Janis Joplin, a longtime admirer of Smith's music, stepped in. She worked with Juanita Green, a woman who had known Smith since childhood and had worked for her family. Together, they arranged for a headstone. It was installed later that year. It included Smith's name, birth, and death years, and a simple inscription: "The greatest blues singer in the world will never stop singing." The grave is located in Section C, Lot 2, Row 12. It remains accessible to the public with no major signs or tour markings. The area is quiet, mostly visited by locals or devoted fans. Before the marker was added, many didn't realize Smith was buried there. The lack of identification made her one of many notable names resting in obscurity for decades. The new headstone brought attention, but the site remained modest and easy to pass by without notice. Marilyn Monroe. She died on August 5, 1962, in her Brentwood home. She was 36. Her housekeeper found her early that morning. Officials ruled it a probable overdose. Her body was taken to Westwood Village Mortuary. Her ex-husband, Joe DiMaggio, handled the funeral. The service was held on August 8th. It was closed to the press. DiMaggio limited attendance to about 30 people. Actors, close friends, and family stood quietly inside the chapel. A Catholic ceremony was performed, though Monroe wasn't practicing. No Hollywood executives were invited. Monroe was buried in Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery. The location wasn't well known. It sat behind a stretch of Wilshire Boulevard, surrounded by office buildings and residential complexes. There were no tour signs or crowds. She was placed in Crypt 24, Corridor of Memories. Her crypt was marked with a basic bronze plate. It included only her name and birth and death years. In the years that followed, fans began showing up. Some left flowers. Others kissed the marker with lipstick. The prints would often be cleaned, but new ones kept appearing. As time passed, more celebrities chose to be buried nearby. Dean Martin, Natalie Wood, and Truman Capote were later added to the same cemetery. Hugh Hefner bought the crypt next to Monroe's in the 1990s. The location remains open to visitors. There are no staff-guided tours, no large memorials, and no signage outside the cemetery pointing to her grave. People often arrive quietly, take photos, and leave flowers. The cemetery itself is small and sits between apartment buildings and commercial lots. While many would expect a larger monument or more obvious location, Monroe's final resting place is subtle. The crypt is tucked inside a shaded corridor, close to others from the same era. The area isn't gated, and fans can walk through freely during visiting hours. Bobby Driscoll. In March 1968, a body was discovered inside a vacant building in Manhattan's East Village. There was no ID, no wallet, nothing to suggest who he was. The man was later buried on Hart Island, New York City's Potter's Field for the unclaimed. He was 31. His name wouldn't be known for nearly a year. Driscoll had once been a major child star. He appeared in Song of the South, Treasure Island, and voiced Peter Pan for Disney. In 1950, he won a Special Academy Award for Outstanding Juvenile Actor. Just a few years later, his contract was canceled. He struggled with addiction and legal issues. He left California and went to New York to try stage acting. It didn't work. He dropped off the radar. When his body was discovered, authorities didn't know who he was. An autopsy cited heart failure. Without identification, fingerprints were taken and filed. Nearly a year passed before anyone connected the dots. Driscoll's mother tried to locate him and contacted New York authorities. They checked fingerprints against the file and confirmed the match in early 1969. By then, he had already been buried in a potter's field. Hart Island is owned by New York City. It's been used as a public burial ground since the 19th century. Most of the graves are unmarked and organized by number. Driscoll's remains were placed with others in a trench grave. There is no headstone. There is no marker. Visitors are not allowed to walk freely on the island. For decades, it was controlled by the Department of Correction. Limited visits by family members began years later under strict rules. Driscoll's plot cannot be located precisely. The city keeps only general records of trench locations. His name was later added to a plaque at the Disney Legends Plaza in Burbank. It remains one of the few public acknowledgments of his death. No changes were ever made to his burial site on Hart Island. Jim Morrison. He died in Paris on July 3, 1971. He was 27 years old. His body was discovered in a bathtub in his apartment. French officials ruled the cause of death as heart failure. No autopsy was performed. His partner Pamela Courson arranged for a burial. He was buried at Père Lachaise Cemetery, one of the oldest and most famous cemeteries in Paris. Other notable figures buried there include Oscar Wilde, Edith Piaf, and Frédéric Chopin. Morrison's grave was located in Division 6, toward the center of the cemetery grounds. The burial was quiet. Only a small group of people attended the funeral. His grave was originally marked with a simple wooden cross, which was later replaced with a flat stone. In 1981, a bust of Morrison was added to the site. It was repeatedly vandalized and eventually removed. Over the years, the site became one of the most visited graves in Europe. Fans carved lyrics, names, and symbols into nearby graves. The area around the grave was often covered with graffiti and litter. Barriers were added to limit access. Security was also increased. In 1990, a new marker was added with a Greek inscription, Kata ton daimona e toi. The phrase roughly translates to true to his own spirit. It was chosen by Morrison's father and replaced earlier damaged markers. The city of Paris considered moving the grave due to damage and complaints, but it was never relocated. The site remains in the same location. The surrounding headstones still show markings from visitors. Items like candles, bottles, and notes are left frequently. The cemetery staff removes them, but new ones appear daily. The grave remains one of the most popular tourist stops in Père Lachaise. Elvis Presley. On August 16, 1977, Elvis was found unresponsive in the bathroom at Graceland, his Memphis estate. He was rushed to the hospital but pronounced dead shortly after. He was 42. 2 days later, a private funeral was held at his home, while thousands gathered outside the gates. The service took place at Graceland. Hundreds of fans gathered outside the gates. Inside, family and close friends viewed the open casket in the living room. Around 80,000 people lined the streets during the procession to Forest Hill Cemetery. Elvis was first buried next to his mother, Gladys. Within weeks, someone tried to break into the mausoleum. The grave was moved. Security concerns led the family to request a reburial on Graceland grounds. Tennessee officials approved the transfer. By October 1977, Elvis's body was relocated to the meditation garden behind the mansion. The garden had been part of the estate's landscaping. It became the official burial site for Elvis, his parents, and later his grandmother. The graves are arranged in a semicircle. Elvis's grave is in the center, made of granite, with his full name and dates. A small eternal flame burns near the foot of the marker. Graceland opened to the public in 1982. The meditation garden became a major attraction. Visitors walk through the house and exit near the gravesite. The area is accessible year-round with extended hours during special memorial events. Security monitors the site constantly. Fans leave flowers, teddy bears, and handwritten letters. Items are cleared regularly, but tributes continue daily. Despite being a private residence, Graceland's burial site receives more visitors annually than most national cemeteries. The Presley family chose not to build a separate memorial or mausoleum. The decision to bury Elvis at home changed how celebrity grave sites were handled. John Wayne. He died on June 11, 1979 at UCLA Medical Center. He was 72. His death followed a battle with stomach cancer. A private funeral service was held shortly after, attended by family and close friends. No public memorial was announced. He was buried at Pacific View Memorial Park in Corona del Mar, California. The location was chosen for its ocean views and quiet setting. At the time of burial, the grave was left unmarked. There was no headstone, plaque, or indicator. For years, fans tried to find the exact location. Some wandered the cemetery asking staff. Others guessed based on satellite images or vague online directions. The family requested privacy and did not confirm the plot. Media outlets occasionally speculated, but no official confirmation was given. In 1999, a headstone was added. It included Wayne's name, birth and death dates, and a quote from one of his final roles. "Tomorrow is the most important thing in life. Comes into us at midnight very clean." The grave became easier to locate after that. His plot is on a hillside overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It's not part of any celebrity section or tour. The headstone is relatively small and blends with nearby markers. Visitors still bring flowers, hats, and miniature American flags. Pacific View Memorial Park is known for its discretion. Other notable figures are buried there, but few markers stand out. Security discourages photography near celebrity plots. Wayne had requested not to make a big deal about his burial. He did not want a monument or statue. For nearly 2 decades, the grave reflected that request. Only after continued public interest did the family agree to add a marker. Fred Astaire. He passed away in Los Angeles on June 22, 1987, at 88 years old. The cause was pneumonia. In line with his wishes, the funeral was kept private. No public ceremony, no media presence, just a quiet farewell arranged by family. He was buried at Oakwood Memorial Park Cemetery in Chatsworth, California. The cemetery sits in the northwest San Fernando Valley, bordered by rocky hills and film ranch land. It's known for its quiet setting and for being used in westerns and silent films. Astaire was laid to rest beside his first wife, Phyllis Potter, who had died in 1954. Their graves are in a small section of the park with simple markers. His stone lists only his name and birth and death years. No quotes, no decorations, no mention of his career. The cemetery isn't a tourist hotspot. It's not located near major attractions. Most people who visit come for personal reasons, not celebrity sightings. A few other entertainers are buried nearby, but there's no marked section for them. Visitors looking for Astaire's grave usually need to ask staff for directions. There are no signs pointing to it. The office doesn't promote celebrity burials. The layout is minimal, with no themed gardens or monuments. Fred Astaire had been one of Hollywood's top stars for decades. He was known for musicals, dance routines, and on-screen partnerships with Ginger Rogers and others. He spent his final years in seclusion and rarely appeared in public. In his will, he asked that no one create a statue, biography, or public memorial in his name. His burial reflected that same wish. The site remains open but rarely visited by tourists. Roy Orbison. He died on December 6, 1988, at the age of 52. He passed away in Tennessee from a heart attack. His body was transported to Los Angeles for burial. The funeral was private, with only family and close friends attending. He was buried at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery. The same cemetery holds the graves of Marilyn Monroe, Natalie Wood, and Dean Martin. Despite his fame, Orbison's grave was unmarked for several years after his burial. Visitors had difficulty finding the site. Staff gave vague directions but didn't point out the location. Fans often walked through the cemetery without ever locating his plot. For a long time, there were no official documents publicly confirming the exact spot. Some fans speculated that the family had requested a secret burial. Others thought the grave had been left unmarked intentionally to avoid vandalism. The cemetery itself gave no public explanation. Eventually, a headstone was added. It listed his full name, birth and death dates, and a brief inscription. The timing of the marker's installation wasn't widely announced. It appeared without any media coverage or formal event. The grave is now easier to find, but still understated. It sits among other flat markers in a grassy section of the park. There are no statues, no plaques, and no tourist signage. Westwood Village Memorial Park is surrounded by tall buildings and narrow roads. It remains one of the most discreet cemeteries in Los Angeles. Most visitors enter quietly and explore the grounds without guidance. Orbison's burial did not include a musical tribute, performance, or public statement. His family has rarely spoken about the burial itself. No fan gatherings or organized memorials are held at the grave. Visitors who do find the site often leave guitar picks, vinyl sleeves, or black roses. Cemetery staff remove items regularly. There is no permanent display or area set aside for fans. The headstone remains modest and rarely photographed in official sources. George C. Scott. On September 22, 1999, Scott died at home in Westlake Village, California. He was 71. The cause was a ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm. His family kept things private, his remains were cremated, and a small unpublicized service followed soon after. Scott was buried at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles. His grave was placed in the same cemetery as Marilyn Monroe, Dean Martin, and Roy Orbison. His burial site was left unmarked at his request. Scott had made headlines years earlier when he refused the Academy Award for Best Actor. He won for his role in Patton in 1971 but declined the statue. He called the Oscars a meat parade and said he didn't believe in competition between actors. The refusal made him a Hollywood outsider. After his death, there was no public memorial, no press conference, no tribute event. The family kept all details private. They confirmed only the location of the burial, with no headstone placed. For years, cemetery visitors passed by his plot without knowing who was buried there. It sits among a row of ordinary grass-covered graves. There is no name, date, or marker of any kind. Cemetery staff have confirmed the plot, but they do not offer guided directions to it. Maps given to visitors don't include Scott's name. The grave remains officially anonymous. A few online sources have identified the approximate location. Some fans who find it leave coins or handwritten notes. Most visitors walk by without realizing who is buried there. Scott had spoken during his life about disliking fame and media attention. His burial followed those same ideas. No marker has ever been added, even decades later. The area around the grave remains quiet. There are no decorations, no flowers left by the cemetery. Just a patch of grass, identical to dozens of others nearby. Visitors looking for his name won't find it. Did you know that Susan Hayward, one of Hollywood's most celebrated actresses, once stood at the crossroads of life and death, not on a movie set but in real life during a nuclear bomb test? This chilling and lesser-known aspect of her life raises a curtain of mystery. How did a star, known for her captivating performances and striking presence, find herself in such a harrowing situation? And what were the hidden repercussions of this incident on her life and career? A Brooklyn beginning. Susan Hayward's story starts far from the glitz of Hollywood, in the working-class neighborhood of Flatbush, Brooklyn. Born Edith the Mariner on June 30, 1917, her early life was a far cry from the red carpets and glamorous gowns she would later become synonymous with. The eldest of 3 children, Hayward's upbringing was modest, with her father working as a transportation worker and her mother as an actress in local stage productions. From a young age, Hayward showed a spark of the determination and resilience that would later define her career. At the age of 7, a tragic accident left her with a severely broken ankle, an injury that doctors warned might cripple her for life. However, Hayward defied these grim predictions, not only walking again but eventually developing a graceful gait that would be admired on the silver screen. Hayward's interest in acting was kindled early, undoubtedly influenced by her mother's theatrical background. She attended Girls Commercial High School, now Prospect Heights High School, where she focused on secretarial skills, a pragmatic choice considering her family's financial constraints. However, her passion for performing couldn't be quelled. She participated in school plays and soon set her sights on a career in acting, driven by a combination of raw talent and a fierce ambition to rise beyond her humble beginnings. The first significant turn in Hayward's journey came in the form of a beauty contest. At the age of 17, she entered and won a beauty contest at the Brooklyn Paramount Theater. This victory wasn't just a testament to her striking looks, it was the gateway to her future in Hollywood. The contest caught the attention of talent scouts, setting her on a path that would lead her away from Brooklyn and towards the bright lights of California. However, the road to stardom was not a straight path. Hayward faced numerous rejections in her early days in Hollywood. She struggled to find her footing in an industry that was as demanding as it was dazzling. Yet she didn't let these initial setbacks deter her. With each audition, with every small role, she honed her craft, showcasing a blend of grit and grace that would soon captivate audiences nationwide. Susan Hayward's journey from a Brooklyn neighborhood to Hollywood's elite circles is a story of perseverance and the relentless pursuit of a dream. It's a tale that begins not with the spotlight, but with the gritty determination of a young girl who refused to let her circumstances define her future. The breakout role. Susan Hayward's journey to stardom reached a pivotal moment with her role in the 1947 film Smash Up the Story of a Woman. This film not only showcased her exceptional acting skills, but also marked a significant transformation in her career, bringing her into the limelight as a serious Hollywood actress. Smash Up presented Hayward with a character that was complex and challenging. She portrayed Angie Evans, a talented singer who abandons her own career aspirations to support her husband's rise to fame. As her husband's career flourishes, Angie finds herself grappling with feelings of neglect and jealousy, spiraling into alcoholism. This role was a stark contrast to the more glamorous and superficial roles often assigned to actresses at the time. Hayward's portrayal of Angie's descent was both powerful and heart-wrenching, earning her widespread acclaim. Her performance in Smash Up was a masterclass in emotional depth and realism. Hayward captured the essence of a woman caught in the throes of personal turmoil, battling her demons and the societal expectations of her time. Her ability to convey the intricate emotions of her character won the hearts of audiences and critics alike, earning her the first Academy Award nomination of her career. This nomination was a milestone, solidifying her status as a leading actress in Hollywood. The film's success brought Hayward a new level of recognition and respect in the industry. She was no longer just another face in the crowd. She was now considered a formidable talent, capable of carrying a film with her powerful performances. Smash Up opened doors to more diverse and challenging roles, allowing Hayward to showcase the breadth of her acting range in the years that followed. The role of Angie Evans in Smash Up represented more than just a career breakthrough for Hayward. It was a defining moment in her personal journey as an artist. She had fought hard to reach this point, overcoming numerous rejections and setbacks in an industry that was as demanding as it was glamorous. Her performance in the film was a testament to her resilience and dedication to her craft, qualities that would continue to define her career. Smash Up, the story of a woman, remains a significant film in Hayward's filmography, not only for its critical success but also for the way it changed her trajectory in Hollywood. It was a turning point that marked the beginning of a new chapter for Hayward, one where she would continue to push boundaries and leave an indelible mark on the silver screen. Romance and turbulence. The personal life of Susan Hayward, much like her career, was filled with intense romances and emotional turbulence. Beyond the camera's gaze, Hayward navigated a complex world of love, heartbreak, and personal struggle that deeply influenced her both as a woman and an actress. Hayward's first marriage was to actor Jess Barker in 1944. This union, marked by its initial passion, soon turned tumultuous. The couple had twin sons, Gregory and Timothy, bringing a brief period of joy and stability. However, the marriage was strained by career pressures and personal differences. By 1954, after a decade of marriage, Hayward and Barker's relationship had deteriorated, culminating in a highly publicized and acrimonious divorce. The custody battle for their sons added to the turmoil, with Hayward eventually winning sole custody. Her divorce from Barker was not just a personal blow, but also a public spectacle, shedding light on the pressures faced by Hollywood stars in their personal lives. Despite the challenges, Hayward maintained a strong facade in public, channeling her emotional experiences into her performances. Hayward's second marriage, to businessman Floyd Eaton Chalkley, known as Chalky, in 1957, marked a stark contrast to her first. Chalkley was a stabilizing force in her life, bringing a sense of peace and contentment that had eluded her in her earlier years. Their marriage was a retreat from the Hollywood scene, as the couple spent much of their time in Carrollton, Georgia, away from the limelight. This period was a happy one for Hayward, as she found solace in the quieter life they built together. However, this happiness was short-lived, as Chalkley's death in 1966 left Hayward devastated. His passing marked a turning point in her life, plunging her into a deep grief that would profoundly affect her both personally and professionally. The loss of Chalkley was not just the loss of a partner, but a pivotal moment that changed the course of her life. Hayward's personal life was as dramatic and complex as any of her film roles. Her experiences with love, marriage, and loss shaped her, leaving an indelible mark on her character and career. The dichotomy of her passionate first marriage and the tranquil stability of her second offered a glimpse into the multifaceted nature of her personality and the depth of her emotional experiences. Hollywood's Golden Age. Susan Hayward's career in Hollywood's Golden Age was a testament to her versatility and tenacity as an actress. Following her breakthrough performance in Smash Up, Hayward established herself as a prominent figure in the film industry, delivering a series of powerful performances that showcased her range and depth. In the 1950s, Hayward starred in a variety of roles that highlighted her ability to tackle challenging and diverse characters. One of her notable performances during this period was in the film I'll Cry Tomorrow, 1955, where she portrayed Lillian Roth, a singer struggling with alcoholism. This role echoed her earlier performance in Smash Up and was critically acclaimed, earning her another Academy Award nomination. Hayward's portrayal of Roth was more than just a depiction of a woman battling addiction. It was a reflection of her own inner strength and ability to connect deeply with her characters. Her performances in such roles were not only technically proficient but emotionally resonant, often leaving a lasting impression on audiences. Another significant milestone in Hayward's career came with the film I Want to Live. 1958, where she played Barbara Graham, a woman wrongfully accused of murder and facing the death penalty. Hayward's portrayal of Graham was intense and gripping, earning her the Academy Award for Best Actress. This achievement was a pinnacle in her career, cementing her status as one of the era's most talented and respected actresses. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, Hayward continued to appear in films that varied in genre and style, from romantic dramas to historical epics. Her ability to adapt to different roles and genres demonstrated her versatility as an actress. Hayward's dedication to her craft was evident in the way she immersed herself in her roles, often doing extensive research to bring authenticity to her performances. Hayward's success in Hollywood was not just a result of her talent, it was also a product of her determination and resilience in an industry known for its competitiveness and challenges. She navigated the complexities of Hollywood with a blend of grace and grit, earning the respect of her peers and the adoration of her fans. Facing adversity. Susan Hayward's journey through the heights of Hollywood stardom was not without its share of profound challenges, particularly concerning her health and the changing dynamics of the film industry. In 1955, during the filming of The Conqueror, Hayward and the rest of the cast were unknowingly exposed to radioactive fallout near the United States government's Nevada test site. This exposure had serious implications, as years later, it became evident that Hayward, along with other cast members, developed serious health issues, including cancer. Hayward's diagnosis of brain cancer in 1973 marked a significant shift in her life. The diagnosis came at a time when she was still an active and revered figure in Hollywood. Despite her illness, Hayward's commitment to her craft never wavered. She continued to act, demonstrating immense resilience and dedication. Her final film role was in The Revengers, 1972, a testament to her enduring spirit in the face of adversity. The diagnosis and subsequent battle with cancer were not the only challenges Hayward faced. The 1960s brought about a significant transformation in Hollywood, with emerging new genres and a shift in the audience's preferences. This change in the industry landscape led to a decrease in the types of roles that had made Hayward a star. As a result, she had to navigate a rapidly evolving industry that was moving away from the traditional dramas and romantic films that had defined her earlier career. Hayward's struggle with health issues coincided with these professional challenges, marking a period of adversity that tested her in various ways. Despite these obstacles, she remained a respected figure in the industry, her legacy as a talented and versatile actress undiminished. Hayward's ability to face these challenges head-on was indicative of her strong character and her unwavering passion for acting. Throughout these difficult times, Hayward maintained a degree of privacy, choosing to confront her health battles away from the public eye. This decision reflected her desire to face her struggles on her own terms, away from the glare of Hollywood's spotlight. The comeback. After facing significant health challenges and navigating the evolving landscape of Hollywood, Susan Hayward made a remarkable comeback, demonstrating her incredible resilience and passion for acting. In the early 1970s, following her diagnosis and treatment for brain cancer, Hayward took a hiatus from acting to focus on her health. This period was one of introspection and recovery for her, as she battled the illness that had come to define a significant part of her life during this time. However, her spirit and love for the art of acting remained undiminished, and she soon felt the pull of the silver screen once again. Hayward's return to acting was marked by her performance in the made-for-television movie Say Goodbye, Maggie Cole, 1972. This role was a testament to her enduring talent and determination. In the movie, Hayward portrayed a doctor grappling with the decision to leave her profession, a poignant parallel to her own life's challenges and decisions at the time. Her performance was met with critical acclaim, proving that her skills as an actress were as sharp as ever. This comeback was not just a return to acting, it was a statement of Hayward's unwavering resolve in the face of personal and professional obstacles. Her ability to deliver a powerful performance after such a challenging period was a source of inspiration to many and solidified her reputation as one of Hollywood's most resilient stars. The success of Say Goodbye, Maggie Cole opened up new opportunities for Hayward. She went on to appear in several more television movies and continued to receive praise for her work. These roles allowed her to explore different character types and storytelling formats, showcasing her versatility as an actress. Hayward's return to the spotlight was also a period of personal growth and change. She had faced down one of life's greatest challenges and emerged with a renewed sense of purpose and commitment to her craft. This period in her career was a reflection of her ability to adapt, to overcome, and to continue to captivate audiences with her performances. Susan Hayward's comeback in the early 1970s was a remarkable chapter in her life, highlighting her resilience and dedication. It was a period that saw her not only return to what she loved, but also triumph over the adversities that had threatened to derail her career and her life. Hayward's journey during this time was a powerful reminder of the strength and determination that characterized her both on and off the screen. Mystery and controversy. The life of Susan Hayward was not just a tapestry of cinematic achievements and personal battles. It was also woven with threads of mystery and controversy that often eluded the public eye. While she graced the silver screen with poise and elegance, her life off-screen was marked by episodes that remained largely unknown to her fans. One such episode revolved around Hayward's connection to the infamous Hollywood blacklist era. During the 1940s and 1950s, the Red Scare swept through Hollywood, leading to the blacklisting of many artists accused of having communist ties. Hayward's name appeared on an FBI list of potential communist sympathizers, a revelation that shocked many. The details of her alleged involvement and political leanings were murky, but the mere association with the blacklist brought a shadow of suspicion over her during a tumultuous time in Hollywood history. Hayward's life was also marked by a series of lesser-known romantic entanglements and friendships that played a significant role in her personal journey. Her close relationship with actor and singer Dean Martin, for instance, was a subject of much speculation. While they shared a deep bond, the true nature of their relationship remained a subject of conjecture. This ambiguity added an element of intrigue to Hayward's persona, as fans and the media speculated about the private life of the enigmatic actress. Another controversial aspect of Hayward's life was her rumored rivalry with fellow actress Ava Gardner. While the extent of this rivalry was likely exaggerated by the press, it was reflective of the competitive atmosphere of Hollywood at the time. The narrative of conflict between two leading actresses was a staple of Hollywood gossip, adding to the mystique surrounding Hayward's career. Hayward's health struggles also gave rise to a series of controversies and rumors. Following her diagnosis with brain cancer, there was much speculation about the cause of her illness. The link between her cancer and the radioactive fallout from the Nevada test site during the filming of The Conqueror was a topic of debate and concern, raising questions about the safety measures in the film industry at the time. Despite the mysteries and controversies that surrounded her, Hayward navigated her life with a level of discretion that was uncommon in the world of Hollywood. She rarely addressed the rumors and speculation head-on, choosing instead to maintain a dignified silence. This approach only fueled the curiosity and fascination of her fans and the media, who continued to be intrigued by the enigmatic figure of Susan Hayward. Final years. As the 1970s progressed, Susan Hayward's life took a turn away from the Hollywood spotlight, marking a period of introspection and relative solitude. Following her remarkable career and her courageous battle with health issues, Hayward chose a more secluded life, stepping back from the public eye and the industry that had defined much of her existence. Hayward's final years were spent in her home in Beverly Hills and at her farm in Carrollton, Georgia, a place that had brought her much peace and happiness during her marriage to Floyd Eaton Chalkley. After his death in 1966, the farm remained a sanctuary for Hayward, a place where she could find solace and a sense of normalcy away from the glares of Hollywood. In these years, Hayward's focus shifted significantly. She spent her time engaging in simple pleasures and pursuits, far removed from the demands and rigors of her acting career. She found joy in the quietude of her surroundings, embracing the tranquility that her life away from Hollywood offered. However, the privacy of her final years did not entirely shield her from public attention. Hayward's fans and the media continued to show interest in her life, eager for updates on the beloved actress. Despite this, Hayward maintained a discreet and dignified presence, rarely making public appearances or statements. Hayward's health remained a concern during these years. The effects of her cancer diagnosis and treatment were ever present, but she faced these challenges with the same resilience that had characterized her approach to earlier obstacles in her life. She managed her health privately with the support of close friends and family. Susan Hayward passed away on March 14, 1975, at the age of 57. Her death marked the end of an era in Hollywood and the conclusion of a life that had been marked by extraordinary talent, personal strength, and a level of mystique that is rare in the world of celebrity. The final part of Susan Hayward's life, spent away from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, was reflective of her desire for a simpler, more grounded existence. It was a time for her to reflect, to find peace, and to live on her terms. Her retreat from the public eye was a choice that allowed her to cherish her privacy and independence in her remaining years. Hayward's life, both in its public triumphs and private retreat, remains a captivating narrative of one of Hollywood's most enduring figures.